I stand frozen in the center of the grand ballroom, my navy dress suddenly too tight across my chest. The champagne in my glass trembles like water in a cup during an earthquake. My 9-year-old son Liam clutches my free hand, his small fingers squeezing mine with increasing pressure as my sister Brielle's laughter echoes through the room's sound system. "Mom," Liam whispers, leaning against my side. "Why is everyone looking at us?" I can't answer him. My throat has closed, trapping words inside as surely as if someone had clamped their hand over my mouth. Across the room, my mother Nancy stands beside Brielle at the head table, her perfectly coiffed silver hair catching the light from the crystal chandeliers. The smug satisfaction on her face sends a cold wave through my stomach. Brielle taps her champagne flute with a silver spoon, the crystal ringing out to silence the murmurs rippling through the reception. "Let's toast my sister," she announces, her voice amplified by the microphone she insisted on holding throughout dinner. Claire Thompson, living proof that one mistake can derail your entire life. Awkward laughter ripples through the crowd. Some guests shift uncomfortably in their seats, while others lean forward, hungry for drama they hadn't expected with their wedding cake. "Mommy?" Liam tugs at my hand harder now. "Why are they being mean to us?" Before I can respond, my mother steps forward and places her hand on Brielle's shoulder. The diamond tennis bracelet on her wrist, her gift to the bride this morning, catches the light and sends prisms dancing across the white tablecloth. At least she brought her situation. "Dressed properly today," Nancy adds, her lips curved in what photographers would capture as a smile, but what I recognize as contempt. My face burns. The whispers grow louder around us as 200 of Atlanta's wealthiest citizens speculate about the disgrace standing in their midst. 9 years, and nothing has changed. 3 hours earlier, I'd stood in the bridal suite, carefully arranging Brielle's cathedral-length veil while she complained about the florist's failure to procure the exact shade of blush roses she demanded. "You're lucky you never had a real wedding," she'd said, examining her reflection. "So much stress." I'd kept pinning, my fingers steady despite the barb. The ruby earrings our grandmother left me, the only inheritance I received, caught the light as I moved, their deep red a stark contrast to my sister's diamonds. "Claire, couldn't you have found something less? Discount store?" My mother had swept into the room, her critical gaze landing on my dress purchased during my lunch hour with 2 months of careful saving. I'd straightened the programs I'd hand-lettered after discovering a typo in the printed versions. "Flower Girl's torn sash." Calmed the ring bearer's nerves with a story about brave knights. Handled a dozen crises no one would ever notice or acknowledge. "Brielle, honey, the photographer wants some shots before the ceremony." It ushered my sister toward the door. "You look absolute perfection." "I know," Brielle had replied, then turned to me with a dismissive glance. "Make sure those programs are arranged properly this time." Now, standing amid the wreckage of my dignity, I reach for my purse on the table beside me. Time to leave. Time to protect my son from the family that views him as nothing more than evidence of my failures. "Don't you dare make a scene," my mother hisses, suddenly beside me though I hadn't seen her approach. Her fingers dig into my forearm, manicured nails leaving half-moon indentations in my skin. From the microphone, Brielle continues, her words slurring slightly from too much champagne. "I mean, we all make choices in life, right? Some of us choose successful husbands and beautiful homes. Others choose." Her gaze lands directly on Liam, who shrinks against my side. The wedding photographer moves through the crowd, his camera capturing everything: the gleeful bride, the uncomfortable guests, the single mother and her fatherless son preparing for escape. Tomorrow, these photos will be evidence of a different sort, proof of what my family really thinks of us. My spine straightens. Not this time. I place my glass on the nearest table and guide Liam toward the exit. We'll slip away quietly. No scenes, no tears, just dignity where none has been offered. "Claire." Nancy's voice carries despite her attempt at a whisper. Heads turn. The sound of a chair scraping against marble stops me mid-step. Daniel Mercer, my new brother-in-law, rises slowly from his seat at the head table. The room falls silent as every eye shifts from my retreat to his unexpected movement. He reaches for the microphone, his fingers gently removing it from Brielle's hand. His expression remains calm, but something in his eyes of quiet determination makes even my mother take a step back. "I think that's quite enough," he says, his voice filling the silent room. I stare at him, recognition flickering at the edges of my memory. Something about the way he stands, shoulders squared against disapproval. I've seen him before Brielle brought him home, before the engagement, but I can't place when or where. The moment hangs suspended, perfect in its tension as 300 people hold their breath, waiting to see what happens next. Daniel's grip on the microphone tightens, his knuckles whitening against the silver handle. The room falls so silent I can hear the ice shifting in abandoned glasses. 200 pairs of eyes dart between us like startled birds, waiting. "Many of you know me as an investment banker," Daniel says, his voice steady despite the tension crackling through the ballroom. "What you don't know is that I met Claire Thompson long before Brielle introduced us at that Christmas party last year." My breath catches. "What?" Brielle lurches forward, diamond earrings swinging wildly as she grabs for the microphone. "That's impossible. You never met her." The words slur together, champagne and panic creating a dangerous cocktail. Danielle sidesteps her reaching hands with the practiced ease of someone who's grown accustomed to managing her moods. I remember exactly when and where. His gaze finds across the room, unwavering. 9 years ago. The floor beneath me seems to tilt. 9 years ago, when Liam was just a baby. When my family had freshly disowned me. When I was working 3 jobs and volunteering at the hospital on weekends because they offered free childcare during shifts. "Mom?" Liam tugs at my sleeve. "What's happening?" Before I can answer, the ballroom fades around me as Daniel continues speaking, his words painting images so vivid I'm transported back in time. Cold, fluorescent lights buzz overhead in the antiseptic hallway of Memorial Hospital's oncology ward. My volunteer uniform pale blue with a cheap plastic name badge hangs loose on my frame. I've lost weight again. Formula costs more than groceries for myself. Remember to walk, not run, sweetheart. I remind 3-year-old Liam as he toddles ahead of me, clutching a stack of crayon drawings. Room 412 comes into view, the same room we visited every Saturday for the past month. The young woman inside Julia can't be more than 19 or 20. Her once thick auburn hair has thinned to wisps against the white pillowcase. The chemotherapy isn't working anymore. Everyone knows it, but no one says it aloud. "Miss Julie!" Liam calls out, his small feet picking up speed despite my warning. Julia turns from the window, her gaunt face transforming with a smile that erases the shadows of her illness for one brilliant moment. "There's my favorite artist." She extends a thin arm toward him. I hang back, watching as Liam carefully spreads his drawings across her blanket-bright crayon worlds, where the sun always shines and stick figure people hold hands beneath impossible purple trees. "This one's you." Liam points to a figure with orange squiggles for hair. "And this is me. We're at the beach. Mom says beaches have lots of sand, but I never been to one." "Been to one," I correct automatically, then wince at how school teacherish I sound. Julia catches my eye and winks. It's our private joke, the overworked young single mother, who can't help teaching proper grammar even while exhausted. "These are magnificent," Julia tells Liam with the complete seriousness that he responds to so well. No baby talk, no condescension. "I'm putting this one right here." She tapes a drawing of a rocket ship to her forepole. That way I can see it all night. I settle into the chair beside her bed, pulling my battered copy of poetry from my volunteer tote bag. Julia loves Robert Frost, though she's too weak to hold the book herself now. As I read, a shadow shifts in the doorway. I glance up briefly, noting a tall figure, a man watching us. Probably one of Julia's relatives, I think, before returning to the poem. Later, after Liam has fallen asleep in my lap and Julia has dozed off mid-stanza, I carefully pack our things. The container of homemade soup I brought sits on her bedside table. The nurses say she hasn't been eating, but sometimes she'll take a few spoonfuls when I bring food from home. Claire saved my sister's Tupperware containers. Daniel's voice pulls me back to the present moment, to the wedding reception frozen in surprise. She washed them and brought them back each week filled with new soup, despite working overtime to make rent, despite raising Liam alone. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. I spot my boss, Mr. Henderson, his expression shifting from confused to impressed. The Wilsons from my mother's garden club exchange glances. Brielle's sorority sisters whisper behind manicured hands. Julia lived 3 months longer than her doctors predicted. Daniel continues. In her final days, she told me those Saturday afternoons with Claire and Liam gave her something to look forward to when treatments couldn't offer hope. Nancy steps forward, her country club smile strained at the edges. Daniel, darling, this is all very touching, but perhaps we should cut the cake instead. Her fingers close around his forearm. He doesn't acknowledge her. Claire never knew Julia was my sister. I watched from the doorway week after week, never introducing myself properly because I didn't want to interrupt the only bright spots in Julia's final months. Liam's small hand finds mine again. I remember Miss Julie, he whispers. She let me use her special purple marker. Tears burn behind my eyes. I'd forgotten that detail, the expensive art marker Julia insisted Liam use for his masterpieces, when her hands became too shaky to draw herself. Daniel reaches up to his lapel, unpins his white rose boutonniere, and places it gently on the head table. The gesture carries a finality that silences even the whispers. I cannot marry into a family that treats its most courageous member this way, he announces, voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. Brielle's perfect makeup streaks down her face in black rivulets. What are you doing? She hisses, reaching for him. Nancy lunges forward, abandoning pretense. You can't be serious. Do you know how much this wedding cost? Daniel steps back, putting distance between himself and both women. No amount of money justifies cruelty to a mother and child. A memory surfaces Daniel insisting on helping Liam build a model airplane at Thanksgiving dinner while everyone else ignored him. Daniel asking about my volunteer work at the engagement party when Brielle cut me off. Daniel watching me, always watching with that vaguely familiar expression I could never place. Now I know why. A tear slides down my cheek, but for the first time in 9 years, it's not from humiliation. Something warm and unfamiliar blooms in my chest, straightening my spine. Vindication. Champagne glasses crash to the marble floor as Daniel moves toward us through the startled crowd. Wedding guests scatter like pigeons from a park bench, their designer heels clicking against stone as they create a path between us. You're leaving me for her? Brielle's voice rises to a shriek that bounces off the crystal chandeliers. Her perfect makeup streaks down her cheeks, mascara rivers destroying the facade she spent 3 hours perfecting. My own sister? At my wedding? Mother rushes between tables, patting the shoulders of the city councilman's wife, murmuring to the hospital board chairman. Damage control in Chanel. I've seen this performance before at my high school graduation when I announced my state college scholarship instead of attending her alma mater. At Christmas dinner when I refused to pretend Liam was my nephew for the society photographer. Claire. I turned to find Mr. Harrington, my boss of 7 years, standing beside me. The same man who avoided eye contact at company functions when Mother cornered him to discuss my temporary position until I sorted out my situation. You never mentioned your volunteer work at Memorial. Something shifts in his expression, respect replacing tolerance. My wife was on that cancer floor 4 years ago. She still talks about the young mother and little boy who brought homemade soup every Tuesday. Before I can respond, Liam tugs at Daniel's sleeve. My son, who hides behind my legs when strangers approach, looks up at Daniel with clear eyes. Did my drawings really help your sister? His small voice carries in the sudden pocket of quiet surrounding us. Daniel kneels, eye level with my boy. His tuxedo worth more than 3 months of my rent crumples against the floor without a second thought. Your kindness gave her joy when nothing else could. Daniel's voice drops to a register meant only for Liam, but I catch every word. Those rocket ships you drew? She kept them taped to her ceiling so she could see them from her bed. My throat tightens. I recognized you instantly at the engagement dinner, Daniel says, rising to meet my eyes. Your hair was longer then. You wore it braided with a blue ribbon. The memory surfaces not of Daniel, but of Julia, the young woman with the same gray-blue eyes as the man standing before me now. The way she'd smile when Liam climbed onto her bed with his crayons and construction paper. How she'd asked about my classes, my dreams, when everyone else saw only my mistakes. I spent months watching how they treated you. Daniel continues, his voice steady. I kept hoping I was wrong, that perhaps they were different in private than they appeared in public. He glances toward Brielle, still wailing into my mother's shoulder. I should have said something sooner. I'm sorry. A strange calm settles over me, like the quiet after a thunderstorm. For 9 years, I've swallowed my words choked on theme in the name of family peace. The weight of those unspoken truths suddenly feels too heavy to carry another step. I turn toward my mother. 9 years. My voice doesn't shake. 9 years raising Liam while working full-time. 3 promotions. Nights spent studying for my CPA certification after he was asleep. Mornings at the hospital with patients everyone else had given up on. Nancy's eyes narrow into familiar slits of disapproval. Not once did you offer to babysit. Not once did you mention my name when your friends needed accounting help. You donated $10,000 to Brielle's honeymoon fund, but complained about contributing to Liam's school supplies. The whispers around us grow louder. Her carefully cultivated image cracks like thin ice beneath spring sun. Your shame was always misplaced. The words taste like freedom on my tongue. A movement near the entrance catches my eye. Mrs. Rivera, my 72-year-old neighbor who watches Liam after school, stands clutching her car keys. Behind her, Dr. Wilson from the oncology department offers a quiet nod. My boss steps forward. Claire's been our most requested accountant for the past 2 years, he announces, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. The promotion we discussed last month comes with her own office, starting Monday. A distinguished couple approaches Daniel's parents, I realize with a jolt. Rather than the condemnation I expect, his mother takes my free hand. Julia told us about you, she says simply. We've been waiting to meet you properly. From across the room, Miss Peyton Liam's 3rd grade teacher raises her glass in a silent toast. I'd forgotten she'd be here. She's Daniel's second cousin. Daniel's voice breaks through my shock. Let me drive you and Liam home. Mom! Brielle lunges forward, diamond bracelet catching the light. Are you going to let this happen? She's ruining my day, again! Nancy's face hardens as she grabs my arm, nails digging into skin. This is all your fault, Claire. Always making trouble. The words should hurt. They've hurt for years. But something fundamental has shifted, like continental plates moving beneath my feet. 9 years of trying to earn scraps of approval. 9 years of protecting Liam from their disappointment, while hoping they might someday see his worth see mine. Nothing will ever change. Liam, honey, I kneel beside my son. Would you like to leave now? He nods, relief flooding his face. Can Mr. Daniel come too? Daniel offers his hand to my boy first, then extends his other to me. We walk toward the exit together, my navy dress no longer feeling too tight, my spine straightening with each step. Mrs. Rivera meets us at the door, pressing her car keys into Daniel's palm. I brought my Lincoln, more comfortable for the boy, she whispers, then adds, I always knew you deserved better, dear. Outside, the setting sun paints the sky in shades of amber and gold. Liam looks up at me, confusion giving way to a tentative hope. Does this mean we don't have to see Grandma anymore? The question pierces my heart and heals it simultaneously. I brush his hair from his forehead the same shade as mine, the same cowlick that never stays put. We'll surround ourselves with people who love us for who we are. The promise feels solid, like ground beneath my feet after years of quicksand. Daniel opens Mrs. Rivera's car door, his face softened by the golden hour light. I know a great ice cream place if you're interested. No pressure, just ice cream. Liam's face lights up, but he looks to me for permission. For the first time in 9 years, I make a choice untethered from my family's expectations. A choice based solely on what brings joy to the two people walking this path with me. Ice cream sounds perfect. A shaft of morning sunlight cuts across my modest apartment, illuminating dust motes dancing above unopened moving boxes. 2 months since the wedding, and I still haven't found the energy to fully unpack. Some wounds heal slower than others. I cradle my coffee muga gift from Daniel with courage, written in simple script, and watch the steam rise in the quiet morning. The red light on my answering machine blinks with 6 new messages. Nancy's voice from yesterday's call echoes in my memory. You're tearing this family apart, as if we'd ever truly been whole. The certified letter from their family attorney sits unopened on the counter. Emotional distress, according to the receptionist who signed for it. Beside it lies my phone displaying Brielle's latest social media post, a black and white photo captioned, "Healing from betrayal isn't linear." The Thompson family specialty inflicting pain, then claiming victimhood. My accounting certification hangs in a simple black frame on the wall, no longer hidden in a drawer. Across the room, Liam's bedroom door showcases his hospital junior volunteer certificate with a handwritten note, "Best storyteller we've ever had." Liam emerges, hair rumpled, shoulders straighter than they've been in years. His grades have improved steadily since we stopped attending family dinners, where Nancy dissected his every achievement for flaws. "Is Daniel coming today?" he asks, reaching for orange juice. "This afternoon. He's bringing materials for my business plan." I can't stop the small smile that forms. My phone chimes with a text from my boss, confirming my new office will be ready Monday at the corner suite with Claire Thompson, senior accountant, on the door. 3 major clients requested me specifically for their quarterly reviews, and next week I'm presenting at the Regional Accounting Conference on work-life balance strategies. "Mom?" Liam says, studying a permission slip from school. "Mrs. Wilson says I'm doing great in therapy. She says He squints at the note, processing family dynamics in healthy ways. Last session, he finally spoke about Grandma's rejection. "She didn't see how special you are, Mom," he'd said with 9-year-old wisdom that left the therapist blinking back tears. His homework assignment sits on the refrigerator, my hero, with my picture carefully drawn below. The doorbell rings promptly at 2. Daniel arrives carrying blueprint tubes and fabric samples. "These are for your home office," he explains as Liam examines his basketball shoes. "I found an antique desk that matches your certification frame almost exactly." He unrolls the blueprints, revealing plans for the spare room in his house transformed into a professional office space with built-in shelving and natural lighting. "For Thompson Financial Solutions," he says, the name of my dream hanging between us. "Every CEO needs a proper desk." My seed money, carefully saved from each paycheck for 9 years, could make this possible sooner than I dared hope. "The business plan is nearly finished," Daniel continues. "Your experience managing client portfolios while juggling single motherhood is exactly the unique selling point small business owners will appreciate." His patience washes over me like a balm. No ultimatums, no timelines, just steady support without demands. He speaks of Julia sometimes, late at night when Liam is asleep, how his sister faced terminal illness with grace, how watching me mother Liam reminds him of her strength. These stories help me process my own wounds, showing me another way to view family beyond the toxic model I grew up with. The doorbell rings again, jarring in our peaceful afternoon. Through the peephole, I see Brielle, mascara smudged beneath red-rimmed eyes. "It's my sister," I say softly. Daniel immediately starts gathering his papers. "Would you like me to stay in the background?" I nod, grateful for his intuition. When I open the door, Brielle stumbles slightly, as if she's been leaning against it. The diamond earrings that were my grandmother's catch the light. "Claire," she says, voice cracking, "I'm sorry, but you have to understand what you've done to the family." Even her apologies begin with accusations. "You've ruined everything," she continues, tears streaming. "Mother's been dropped from the charity board, Daddy's business partners are asking questions, and I can't show my face at the club." I stand straight, shoulders back. "I'm sorry you're hurting, Brielle, but I won't blame for consequences that came from your choices." "But we're family," she whispers, reaching for Liam. Come give Auntie a hug. My son steps back, standing tall beside me. No thank you, he says politely, his voice small but firm. From the kitchen doorway, Daniel watches silently, ready to step forward but letting us handle this moment ourselves. For the first time in my life, I don't feel outnumbered by my family. I am finally on the stronger side. I straighten the framed accounting license on my office wall, Thompson Financial Solutions, the brass nameplate on my mahogany desk catching morning light. 6 months of freedom taste sweeter than I'd imagined. Through the half-open door, I glimpse Melissa at reception, fielding calls with the practiced efficiency I hired her for last month when client overflow demanded help. My fingers brush across Liam's latest therapy drawing displayed in a simple silver frame stick, figures holding hands. Himself, me, and Daniel beneath a rainbow. Next to it sits Daniel's photograph, his quiet smile reflecting the strength I've come to lean on. The emerald ring on my right hand, his grandmother scratches the light when I reach for my coffee. Not an engagement yet, but a promise neither of us takes lightly. Miss Thompson? Melissa appears at my door. There's a Pastor Williams here to see you. Says he's from Calvary Heights. Her expression remains neutral, but her eyebrow rises slightly. He's with an older woman. My stomach tightens. Calvary Heights, my mother's church for 30 years. The teacup rattles against its saucer before I steady my hand. Send them in, please. Pastor Williams enters, first silver-haired dignity in a charcoal suit, Bible clutched unnecessarily against his chest like a shield. Behind him, my mother glides in, Chanel suit impeccable as always, though the collar sits looser around her neck than 6 months ago. Deep lines bracket her mouth that makeup can't quite disguise. Claire, she says, voice warm but eyes calculating. You look healthy. Mom, Pastor Williams, please sit down. I gesture to the visitor chairs, not leather like in Dad's office, but comfortable enough to suggest success. The door opens again. Liam slips in from his after-school homework spot in the break room, immediately positioning himself beside my chair. His shoulders square beneath his school uniform, chin lifted. At 9, he stands guard like a miniature soldier. Hello, Liam, my mother says, smile tight. My goodness, you've grown. Liam nods once, not stepping forward for the hug she doesn't offer. Pastor Williams clears his throat. Claire, your mother has been attending our family reconciliation ministry. He places his Bible on his lap, opening to a marked page. The good book teaches us that family bonds are sacred. Nancy has expressed deep desire for healing between you. I poured tea from the carafe on my desk, handing cups to each visitor. That's thoughtful of you to come all this way, Pastor. May I ask what prompted this visit now? My voice remains steady, professional, the voice I use with difficult clients. My mother leans forward, pearls swinging. Family should stick together, Claire. What happened at the wedding was unfortunate. But surely we can move forward now. Her gaze flickers to Liam, then away. The holidays are coming. It would look better if... Look better? I repeat, cup paused midway to my lips. Pastor Williams intervenes. What Nancy means is that Christian forgiveness benefits everyone, and... He hesitates, glancing sideways at my mother. And? I prompt. My mother shifts, crossing her ankles. The country club membership committee is reviewing our standing after that scene. Several longtime clients have requested their files. Her voice drops. They've come to you, haven't they? Ah, there it is. We need to present a united family front again, she continues, regaining composure. Your father's business reputation. I see. I set my cup down with a gentle click. This isn't about reconciliation, it's about appearance. Liam's hand rests on my shoulder, warm and solid. I open my desk drawer and withdraw a leather-bound journal, 9 years of entries, documenting every cutting remark, every Christmas where Liam received less than his cousins, every family gathering where we were seated at the far end of the table. I kept a record. My finger traces the worn cover. Not out of bitterness, but because gaslighting was your specialty, Mom. Whenever I mentioned how you treated us, you claimed I was too sensitive or imagining things. Pastor Williams shifts uncomfortably. I'm willing to consider limited contact, I continue. But I have conditions. First, family therapy not with your pastor, but with a licensed therapist. Second, acknowledgement of specific incidents in this journal, not vague apologies. Third, respect for boundaries I set regarding Liam. My mother's face brightens. Of course, darling, whatever you need. The words come too quickly. Though therapy seems excessive, one simple forgiveness. Non-negotiable, I interrupt. Her lips thin. Fine. Though this office space is rather modest for someone with your clients, I could speak to your father about investing. No? You always did make things difficult. She sighs, glancing around. Daniel would likely propose properly if we reconciled. Men value family connections. A small laugh escapes me, surprising us both. Daniel loves me precisely because I finally love myself. He admires my boundaries, not my willingness to erase them. Pastor Williams coughs, clearly recognizing the conversation has veered far from his script. I stand, smoothing my skirt. Thank you for coming. I'll email the therapist recommendations tomorrow. My mother rises, collecting her purse. You're being stubborn, Claire. I'm being clear. I correct, walking them to the elevator with professional courtesy. Love is earned through actions, not demanded through obligation. She steps into the elevator, turning for one final volley. You're breaking your father's heart. The doors begin to close. Dad hasn't called once, I say quietly. You're here alone. Her eyes widen as the doors slide shut. Liam's small hand slips into mine as we return to my office. Was that okay, Mom? Yes, I whisper, my voice steady for perhaps the first time in 33 years. That was perfectly okay. Firelight dances across Julia's photograph as I adjust the silver frame on the mantel. Her smile, so much like Daniel's, seems to approve of the pine garland and twinkling lights adorning our first Christmas together. My fingers trace the edge of the frame, remembering the young woman whose kindness Liam and I never realized would change our lives. Mom, can we head to the hospital soon? I promised the kids we'd help them open presents before dinner. Liam slides into the living room in his new Christmas sweater, eyes bright with purpose. At 10, his volunteer badge hangs proudly beside mine, continuing the legacy that unknowingly connected us to Daniel years ago. After I check on dinner, I straighten the business award nestled between Family Photos Thompson Financial Solutions' first year exceeding projections by 40%. Beside it sits the foundation certificate. Mercer, Thompson, Healthcare Education Fund for Single Parents. Our way of turning past pain into future opportunity. The kitchen buzzes with activity. Mrs. Rivera slices the roast with practiced precision, her arthritis-curbed fingers still steady with the carving knife. In my country, the matriarch always serves the meat, she announces, swatting away Daniel's father when he offers to help. Daniel's mother arranges Liam's school essay on the refrigerator with a magnet. The title, Family is Who Loves You, Not Who Matches Your DNA, had earned him both an A and a parent-teacher conference where his teacher wept. Dad's not used to taking orders, Daniel whispers against my ear, arms wrapped around my waist. But he's never been happier about having a grandson. My boss no client Bill Henderson raises his wine glass. To the woman who made me look brilliant for promoting her. His wife nudges him. Fineand, who makes me look brilliant for hiring her firm now. Laughter ripples through our home as 14 people squeeze around our tables. Hospital volunteers, therapy group friends, neighbors' faces connected not by DNA, but by choice. Unopened Christmas cards addressed to Brielle and Nancy sit on my desk drawer. I wrote them weeks ago, not yet sent, but not forgotten, either door neither closed nor fully open. Present time, Daniel announces, kneeling before me with a small velvet box. The room falls silent. This was Julia's, he says, opening the box to reveal an emerald ring, size smaller than the one I glimpsed in photographs. She would have loved calling you her sister. His voice cracks slightly. I'd like the honor of calling you my wife. Liam pushes forward, thrusting a handmade card into my hands. Crayon letters spell out, Will you let Daniel be my dad for real? Tears not of shame or rejection, but of overwhelming joy spill down my cheeks as I nod, unable to speak as they both embrace me. Approval I never needed to earn. Later, when the plates are cleared and adoption papers for Liam to take the Mercer name sit signed on my desk, beside the half-finished manuscript, the family we choose, the doorbell rings. I've got it, I tell Daniel, who's teaching Liam his family's traditional Christmas card game. Snow swirls behind my mother as she stands on the porch, looking smaller than I remember. Gray has overtaken the carefully maintained silver of her hair. She clutches a small package wrapped in simple red paper. I was wrong, she says, no preamble, no manipulation lacing her words. I'm sorry. I stare at her, searching for the familiar calculation in her eyes, but finding only exhaustion and regret. My hand hesitates on the door, neither closing it nor opening it wider. Not yet. Just slightly ajar, like the possibility of forgiveness itself. I return to our celebration without mentioning Nancy's appearance, watching our gathered family with quiet wonder. Daniel's parents steal cards, while Mrs. Rivera teaches Liam Spanish Christmas carols. My therapy group friends argue good-naturedly about basketball with Bill. The old family album sits on the bookshelf, but beside it stands a new one already half-filled with photographs of people who chose us, and whom we chose in return. Sometimes the happiest endings come after the courage to walk away. I never imagined my own father would look me in the eye and steal my future, yet here I stand in our opulent ballroom, watching him destroy everything I've built. The crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across the faces of 200 guests as Dad taps his champagne glass, commanding attention with that practiced smile that has closed countless deals. My heart still thrums with pride from the earlier speeches celebrating Hayes Interior's incredible growth. 9 years of my sweat and strategy have transformed our family's furniture company into an $87 million empire. The marble columns and cascading flower arrangements surrounding us were my vision, each detail carefully selected to showcase our evolution from traditional craftsmen to luxury innovators. If I could have everyone's attention, Dad's voice carries across the murmuring crowd. Tonight we celebrate not just our success, but our future. I lift my own glass, already anticipating his acknowledgement of my leadership. After all, I hold 55% of the company estate I earned through countless sleepless nights and razor-sharp negotiations. It gives me great pleasure to announce that my son, Connor Hayes, will be assuming the role of CEO effective immediately. The champagne turns to acid in my throat. Around me, glasses clink in celebration while my fingers go numb. Connor steps forward, beaming, his designer suit perfectly pressed despite the fact he's never stayed late enough at the office to wrinkle one. Thank you, Dad, he says, radiating the effortless charm that's carried him through life while I fought for every inch. I'm honored to lead Hayes Interiors into its next chapter. My chest tightens as memories flood back unbidden. The night I secured the Morrison account, pacing my office at 3 a.m., rehearsing every detail until the presentation was flawless. The summer I flew between 3 countries in 5 days, building relationships with artisanal craftsmen while Connor posted poolside photos from the Hamptons. The endless board meetings where I defended every innovation, every risk, every step forward while Dad and Connor watched from the sidelines. I scanned the crowd, catching the carefully averted gazes of board members who've witnessed my dedication firsthand. Lisa Morgan, our CFO, meets my eye for a fraction of a second long enough to see the apology there. Their silence speaks volumes. They knew. They all knew, and no one warned me. A server passes with fresh champagne. I grab a glass to steady my trembling hands, the cut crystal cool against my palm. Across the room, I watch the subtle dance of power shifting. Board member James Chen leans in close to Connor, all smiles and congratulations, though just last week he'd criticized my brother's lack of industry knowledge. Dad works the room with calculated precision, his hand on the small of backs, his laugh just loud enough to draw attention. The pieces click into place with sickening clarity. Every time they dismiss my ideas as too aggressive, every patronizing pat on the head when I pushed for modernization. They never saw me as a leader. I was just keeping the seat warm. To the future of Hayes Interiors. Dad raises his glass. The crowd echoes his toast while I retreat to a quiet corner, my mind already racing ahead. My throat burns with unspoken words, but I won't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Not here, not now. I find myself in the eastern alcove, away from the celebration's glare. My reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows shows a woman I barely recognize, perfectly coiffed hair, designer dress, glass still held with practiced grace. But my eyes are steel. They think they've won, that I'll accept this gracefully like every other slight. But they've forgotten one critical detail. I'm not that little girl anymore, desperate for daddy's approval. I'm the woman who transformed this company, who holds the controlling stake, who knows every contract and clause by heart. I slip away from the celebration, my heels clicking against marble as I make my way to my private office. Behind me, laughter and music fade, replaced by the steady rhythm of my breathing and the certainty growing in my chest. Each step takes me further from the person I was 10 minutes ago, the dutiful daughter, the team player, the one who always took the high road. They want a war? Fine. Let's see how well they fare against someone who has nothing left to lose. The soft glow of my desk lamp casts long shadows across stacks of legal documents spread before me. Each page represents another piece of the puzzle I've dedicated 9 years of my life to building. My fingers trace the embossed Hayes Interiors logo, same logo I redesigned when we pivoted from traditional furniture maker to luxury brand innovator. I've been here for hours, methodically reviewing every contract, every amendment, every careful notation I've made over the years. The weight of what happened at the gala still sits heavy in my chest, but I refuse to let emotion cloud my judgment. Not now, not when there's too much at stake. A dog-eared clause in our company bylaws catches my eye. I lean forward, my heart beginning to race as I read the text again, then again. The language is crystal clear. My 55% controlling stake cannot be overridden without explicit written consent. Son of a bitch, I whisper, the pieces clicking into place. They didn't just betray meth, they broke the law. Memories flood back unbidden. 3 years ago, Dad's patronizing smile as he dismissed my proposal to expand into custom installations. It's too risky, sweetheart. Let's stick to what we know. 2 months later, I landed the Morrison account anyway, proving him wrong. But instead of pride, I saw something else flash in his eyes. Fear. The monitor's glare illuminates another document board meeting minutes from 6 months ago. Connor hadn't even attended, too busy posting photos from his yacht in St. Tropez while I negotiated with artisans in Milan. Yet here's his signature, authorizing major policy changes I never saw. My jaw clenches as I uncover more discrepancies. Backdated contracts, circular approvals, a systematic effort to undermine my authority while maintaining the illusion of inclusion. Dad's fingerprints are all over it, the same tactics he's used to close deals for decades. A knock at my door breaks my concentration. Lisa Morgan, our CFO, steps in waiting for a response. Smart woman. She's been with Hayes Interiors longer than I have, seen every power play my father's orchestrated. I thought I'd find you here, she says, closing the door behind her. Her eyes dart to the papers spread across my desk. Found anything interesting? I hold up the bylaws. Did you know about this? She meets my gaze steadily. I had my suspicions. Jonathan's been pushing the boundaries for months, testing how far he could go without triggering legal oversight. And Connor? A puppet, Lisa says, settling into the chair across from me. Your father's been grooming him, teaching him just enough to maintain appearances. But everyone knows who really built this company. She pauses, choosing her words carefully. Charlotte, there are others who see what's happening. Board members who respect what you've accomplished. I lean back, studying her face. In the harsh office lighting, I can see the weight of unspoken words in her expression. How long have they been planning this? The groundwork started after the Morrison deal, when you proved you could innovate without his approval. She pulls a folder from her briefcase. You might want to see these too. My hands don't shake as I open the folder, but my stomach twists at what I find inside. Financial records, carefully annotated with Lisa's precise handwriting, showing systematic manipulation dating back months. Each entry represents another betrayal, another calculated move in my father's grand chess game. A message flashes on my computer screen, an email from James Chen, one of our senior board members. The subject line reads simply, "When you're ready to fight back." I close my eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of decisions yet to come. When I open them, Lisa is watching me with quiet intensity. You know this isn't just about you anymore, she says softly. Hayes Interiors employs over 300 people. Your father's leadership style. It's from a different era. We need innovation to survive, not regression. Before I can respond, my assistant hurries in, an unmarked envelope in her trembling hands. "This just arrived for you," she says, glancing nervously at Lisa. "Hand delivered." The envelope is heavy, sealed with wax in an old-fashioned style I recognize immediately. Dad's signature touch-up power move disguised as tradition. Inside, a single document makes my blood run cold. "What is it?" Lisa asks, leaning forward. I stare at the yellowed paper, its implications sending chills down my spine. "The original founding agreement," I say quietly. And something tells me this version isn't the same one in our corporate records. The document trembles slightly in my hands. I set it down, squaring my shoulders. "Call an emergency board meeting," I tell Lisa. "Now." 30 minutes later, I stride into the boardroom, my heels clicking against marble with deliberate precision. The tension is palpable as board members shift in their leather chairs. Dad sits at the head of the table, Connor at his right hand, a tableau of assumed power that makes my jaw clench. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," I say, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. I remain standing, commanding the room's attention. I'll be brief. The announcement made at tonight's gala regarding leadership changes was not just premature, it was illegal. Dad's face hardens, but I continue before he can speak. As the holder of 55% controlling stake in Hayes Interiors, any executive changes require my explicit written consent. I lay out the bylaws, my evidence arranged with surgical precision. Consent which, as you can see, was never given. "Charlotte," Dad's voice carries that familiar patronizing tone, "you're embarrassing yourself." "No, Dad." I cut him off, surprised by the steel in my own voice. "You've embarrassed yourself. And the company." I slide copies of the documented irregularities across the polished table. These records show a pattern of manipulation that I believe the board will find concerning. The room erupts in murmurs as board members leaf through the evidence. James Chen catches my eye, giving an almost imperceptible nod. But victory tastes bitter as I watch the color drain from Connor's face. He's a puppet, yes, but he's still my brother. I gather my materials, the weight of dozens of eyes pressing against my skin. This public challenge has cost me burn bridges that can never be rebuilt, shattered the last remnants of family loyalty. But as I turn to leave, the founding agreement heavy in my briefcase, I know it's worth it. Sometimes the price of justice is letting go of the past. I pause at the door, allowing myself one final glance at my father. His expression is unreadable, but something has shifted. For the first time in my life, I see a flicker of fear in Jonathan Hayes' eyes. Good. He should be afraid. The yellow document in my briefcase holds secrets that could bring his entire legacy crashing down, and tomorrow I intend to find out exactly what they are. The television screen in my office flickers with Connor's perfectly rehearsed smile as he delivers another carefully crafted interview. "Hayes Interiors has always been about family," he says, adjusting his designer tie. "We're excited to return to our traditional values." My fingers tighten around my coffee mug. Traditional values. Code for pushing me aside, erasing 9 years of modernization and growth. Dad's press conference plays on another screen, his commanding presence filling the downtown conference center as he announces their bold new direction. The media blitz has been relentless. Every business channel, every industry publication, every corporate memo screaming the same message. Charlotte Hayes is out, Connor Hayes is in. The words blur together on my tablet as I scroll through another analysis piece, questioning my leadership decisions. I shut off the screens, letting darkness settle over my office. The silence feels heavy, almost protective. Outside my window, Chicago's skyline glitters against the night sky. The same view I've stared at during countless late nights building this company. My phone buzzes with a text from Margaret Lee. "Don't let them break you. Remember Morrison." The Morrison account. I close my eyes and I'm back in that moment, pacing the same office at 3 a.m., rehearsing every detail of the presentation. The board had called it impossible, too ambitious. But I saw the potential, planned every angle. When I finally walked out of that meeting with Morrison's signature, it changed everything. Hayes Interiors wasn't just furniture anymore. We were innovators, trendsetters. David Ortiz's voice echoes in my memory. "Only you could have pulled this off, Charlotte." He'd stayed late with me that night, running numbers, refining projections. Just like he did during the European expansion, the digital transformation, every major leap forward. The memories hit differently now, sharp-edged with new purpose. Each victory wasn't just about business. It was proof. Proof that I'm not what they think. Not the dutiful daughter playing at power. Not someone they can simply brush aside when convenient. A notification pings, tomorrow's emergency board meeting. My heart rate kicks up, but my hands are steady as I pull up the presentation I've spent days preparing. The evidence is irrefutable. Financial records, witness statements, legal documents proving every manipulation, every betrayal. I reach for my phone, dialing Lisa Morgan's direct line. She answers on the first ring. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" I ask. "Everyone's on board," she says. "Kevin Roberts just confirmed. We've got your back, Charlotte." The knot in my chest loosens slightly. I've always fought alone, carried every burden myself. But this time is different. I stand, walking to the window. My reflection looks back at me, backlit by city lights. There's a steel in my eyes that wasn't there before, forged by betrayal and sharpened by determination. The boardroom doors feel heavier than usual the next morning. Every head turns as I enter, conversations dropping to whispers. Dad sits at the head of the table, Connor at his right hand, a tableau of patriarchal power they've spent decades perfecting. "Charlotte," Dad says, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "I hope you're here to be reasonable about this transition." I don't smile back. Instead, I walk to the podium, plugging in my laptop. The screen behind me flickers to life. "I'd like to draw the board's attention to several documents," I say, my voice cutting through the tension. First, the original contract establishing my 55% controlling stake in Hayes Interiors. Dad's smile falters. Connor shifts in his seat. "This stake wasn't gifted to me," I continue, advancing through evidence I've gathered. "I earned it, through the Morrison account, the European expansion. 9 years of transforming this company, while others were content to coast on our reputation." Lisa Morgan leans forward, her expression intent. Kevin Roberts nods slowly. "But more importantly," I say, pulling up the next document, "I'd like to discuss these communications between Jonathan Hayes and several board members dating back 6 months. Communications explicitly planning to circumvent my legal authority." The room goes absolutely still. I can hear Dad's sharp intake of breath, see the color drain from Connor's face. But I don't stop. I can't stop. Every ignored suggestion, every dismissed innovation, every patronizing pat on the head, it all leads to this moment. "I move for an immediate vote," I say, my voice steady despite my pounding heart, "to formally recognize my controlling stake and leadership position." For one terrible moment, silence reigns. Then Lisa Morgan stands. I second the motion. Kevin Roberts rises next. I call for an immediate vote. One by one, hands raise. The tide shifts, power rebalancing in real time. Dad's face hardens into granite. Connor won't meet my eyes. I watch the counts being tallied, each vote a vindication. When the final numbers are read, the victory is decisive, unambiguous. After the boardroom clears, I find myself in the executive lounge, hands trembling as the adrenaline finally ebbs. Margaret enters quietly, closing the door behind her. "You did it," she says, sitting beside me. The tears come without warning. 9 years, I whisper. 9 years of proving myself, and they still tried to. My voice breaks. Margaret's hand finds mine. "I watched you grow from an ambitious young woman into a force of nature. Your father and brother, they never saw the real you, never understood what you built here." I wipe my eyes, the vulnerability of the moment already passing. They'll try to fight back. Then we'll be ready. She squeezes my hand. "The old guard is done, Charlotte. This is your company now." Later that night, I summon my core team to the private conference room. Samuel Price, our legal advisor, spreads documents across the table. Angela Reed, our chief strategy officer, pulls up financial projections. Kevin Roberts reviews security protocols. "We need to move fast," I say, highlighting key sections of the founding documents. They'll try to challenge the vote. Samuel nods. "I've already filed the necessary paperwork, but Charlotte..." He pauses, pulling out a weathered folder. "There's something else. Something in the original company charter that your father tried to bury." My pulse quickens as I open the folder. The paper is old, the legal language dense, but one clause stands out like a beacon. "Is this what I think it is?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Samuel's eyes meet mine. "This changes everything. Your father's entire claim to Hayes Interiors." He lets the implications hang in the air. I close the folder, my mind already racing with possibilities. Dad thought he was playing chess while holding all the pieces. But he never knew about this move, the one that could end the game entirely. Dawn breaks over Chicago's skyline as I stride into the private conference room on Hayes Interior's top floor. The early morning light catches the polished mahogany table where my most trusted allies await. Lisa Morgan, our razor-sharp CFO, Samuel Price, legal counsel with a spine of steel, and Kevin Roberts, whose operational expertise has kept us ahead of our competitors for years. By the end of today, I say, placing my leather portfolio on the table, Hayes Interiors will know the truth. The words carry weight in the hushed room. We've been planning this moment for weeks, each piece carefully arranged like the custom furniture collections I've curated over 9 years of building this company. Lisa spreads financial documents across the table, her manicured nails tapping against damning spreadsheets. These records show systematic mismanagement under Jonathan's oversight. The board can't ignore this. They won't have time to ignore it, Samuel adds, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone holding a winning hand. I've prepared the legal documents. Once filed, they'll force an emergency board meeting. The tension in the room shifts to something electric, alive with possibility. Kevin leans forward, his usually reserved demeanor charged with purpose. My team is ready. The moment you give the signal, we'll have support from every department head who's watched you build this company. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, clouds gather over Lake Michigan. A storm is coming. How fitting. Dad's desperate moves come faster than expected. By mid-morning, a company-wide email from him floods every inbox at Hayes Interiors. I read it on my phone, jaw clenching at his carefully crafted lies about being the true visionary behind our success. The words are hollow, each sentence reeking of the same patronizing tone he used when telling me I was too aggressive in pursuing the Morrison account, the very account that doubled our market share. On the mounted television in my office, Connor appears on Bloomberg Business, his rehearsed smile not quite reaching his eyes as he declares himself the natural successor to the Hayes legacy. I notice the slight tremor in his hand as he adjusts his tie, a tell from childhood that always betrayed his uncertainty. Charlotte, Lisa appears in my doorway, tablet in hand. You need to see this. A whistleblower has leaked internal emails to industry blogs. The timestamp shows it happening minutes after Connor's interview began. I scan the contents, watching years of Dad's manipulations unfold in black and white. The comment sections are already filling with industry insiders questioning Connor's qualifications. My phone buzzes with messages from employees, their loyalty finally finding voice. We stand with Charlotte, reads one. Time for real leadership, says another. A smile tugs at my lips. They've played right into my hands. The Hayes Interiors boardroom has hosted countless power plays over the years, but none quite like this. Dad sits at the head of the table, my table, attempting to control what he thinks will be a routine meeting about the transition of power. I let him speak for exactly 3 minutes before rising from my seat, the click of my heels against marble echoes as I walk to the front of the room. Without a word, I press a button on the remote. The massive screen behind me flares to life. 9 years of financial records, leaked communications, and confidential reports cascade across the display. Each document is a nail in the coffin of their credibility, proof of Dad's systematic undermining of my initiatives, evidence of Connor's complete lack of involvement in key decisions, records of secret meetings planning my ouster. Gasps ripple through the room. I see the blood drain from Dad's face as he recognizes his own signature on documents he thought were buried forever. Connor shifts in his seat, his confident facade cracking as board members turn to stare at him. For 9 years, I say, my voice steady, I have transformed Hayes Interiors from a regional furniture company into an $87 million empire. While some were planning my removal, I was planning our future. Lisa stands, her voice cutting through the tension. The financial records speak for themselves. Every major growth initiative, every successful expansion, all originated with Charlotte. Kevin rises next, his quiet authority commanding attention. Our operational success, our innovation in the market, it's all been under Charlotte's leadership. One by one, board members and executives who've witnessed my dedication find their voices. The very people Dad and Connor thought they had in their pocket now turn against them. Years of resentment finally breaking free. The tide turns with shocking speed. I watch Dad's carefully constructed world crumble, his eyes darting between formerly loyal faces now turned cold. Connor's usual smirk has vanished, replaced by something closer to panic as he realizes Dad's influence can't save him anymore. I stand at the front of the room, spine straight, watching the power shift happen in real time. This company deserves leadership based on merit, not manipulation. I declare, letting my gaze meet each person in the room. The words land with finality. In the heavy silence that follows, I can already see tomorrow's headlines taking shape. And this is only the beginning. The convention center thrums with nervous energy as Dad takes the podium, his practiced smile betraying the desperation behind his eyes. Reporters crowd the front rows, smartphones raised like weapons, while investors and board members line the back wall. The massive screens behind him flash with glossy images of Hayes Interior's new vision, a vision that conspicuously erases my 9 years of leadership. Recent changes at Hayes Interiors reflect our commitment to stable, traditional leadership. Dad announces, each word calculated to undermine me. The transition to my son Connor ensures continuity of our family values. I watch from the shadows of the broadcasting booth, my throat tight with disgust. Beside me, Lisa Morgan, our CFO, grips a leather portfolio containing every document we need to shatter their carefully constructed lies. They're getting desperate, she whispers. She's right. I can see it in the way Connor fidgets with his tie during his live interview and how his responses about legal technicalities sound rehearsed and hollow. Their social media campaign has been working overtime, pushing narratives about corporate stability and preservation of legacy. But they've forgotten what I learned building this company. Perception isn't power. Control is. The morning's certified letters prove it. Dad's legal team has been busy, sending ominous warnings to board members about potential litigation risks and fiduciary obligations. Connor's media contacts have been working the phones, planting stories about corporate instability that sent our stock sliding. They're trying to isolate me, to turn my support network against me through fear and manipulation. I check my watch. In exactly 17 minutes, the board meeting that will decide everything begins in the executive conference room upstairs. I think of the USB drive in my pocket, loaded with 9 years of meticulously documented evidence. Every secret deal, every manipulated contract, every instance where they thought I wasn't paying attention. It's time, Lisa says, her eyes bright with anticipation. The executive conference room falls silent as I take my place at the head of the table. The morning sun streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the crystal water glasses and making them spark like coming lightning. Dad sits to my right, Connor to my left, both radiating false confidence. The rest of the board waits, tension crackling in the air. I don't speak immediately. Instead, I carefully remove my laptop, connect it to the room's display system, and meet each person's gaze. Some look away, others hold firm. I've memorized where each one stand who stayed loyal, who wavered, who sold out to the highest bidder. Before we begin today's vote, I say, my voice steady and clear, I'd like to share some information that affects every person in this room. The first document appears on screen. Internal emails revealing Dad's systematic dismantling of supplier relationships I'd built, replacing them with his cronies at inflated costs. Next comes proof of Connor's attempts to manipulate stock prices through leaked false information. With each revelation, their faces grow paler, their postures more rigid. Charlotte, Dad starts, but I silence him with a raised hand. I'm not finished. I pull up the financial records next year's of creative accounting designed to hide their true intentions. Every decision, every betrayal, every attempt to undermine what I built, it's all here. Documented, verified, undeniable. The evidence unfolds like a perfectly orchestrated symphony. Testimony from executives they tried to bribe. Proof of secret board meetings held without proper notification. Documentation of my 55% controlling stake and the illegal attempts to override it. My phone lights up with notifications as the story breaks across major news outlets. Industry analysts are already weighing in, their tweets scrolling across my screen. Shocking revelations at Hayes Interiors. Corporate coup exposed. Charlotte Hayes reveals years of systematic manipulation. The hashtag number Hayes Interiors exposed trends within minutes, accompanied by clips from Dad's earlier press conference now playing like a tragic comedy against the backdrop of truth. Connor's phone buzzes incessantly, his media contacts warning him that the story is already breaking. Dad's lawyer frantically flips through papers, searching for loopholes that don't exist. The board members who backed their coup now stare at their hands, unable to meet my eyes. I save the most damning evidence for last. Recordings of Dad and Connor planning this takeover months ago, dismissing my contributions with casual cruelty. The room fills with the sound of their own voices, dripping with contempt and arrogance. The era of deceit ends today, I declare, standing to emphasize my words. Hayes Interiors will no longer be a playground for toxic ambition and betrayal. Those who supported this attempted coup have a choice: resign now or face the legal consequences of your actions. Dad's face has gone from red to white, his hands trembling as he reaches for his water glass. Connor's earlier bravado has evaporated, replaced by the panicked look of someone watching their future crumble. The board members who once dismissed my concerns as overly aggressive now lean forward, eagerly distancing themselves from the losing side. But there's one more card to play. I remove an envelope from my briefcase, placing it deliberately at the center of the table. The room goes completely still. This document was buried in our company archives, I say softly. Its contents could completely dismantle what remains of the old guard's influence. I'll be reviewing it with our legal team tomorrow morning unless anyone has something they'd like to confess now. Dad and Connor exchange a look of naked fear. And I know I've won. Not just the company, but my freedom from their manipulation. The document might be nothing but watching them squirm. I realize they have plenty to hide. Let them spend the night wondering which of their buried secrets I've discovered. Tomorrow will come soon enough. The early morning sun streaks through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Hayes Interior's redesigned headquarters, casting long shadows across my private office. I stand before the panoramic view, watching the city wake up beneath me. My reflection in the glass shows a woman transformed still wearing my signature tailored blazer, but my shoulders carry a different weight now. Not the burden of betrayal, but the mantle of true leadership. I trace my fingers over the sleek presentation folder on my desk, feeling the embossed company logo. Inside lies our complete transformation strategy, the culmination of months of meticulous planning. Every page represents a step forward, away from the old guard's stagnant thinking and toward a future where innovation meets craftsmanship. The soft chime of my phone breaks the silence. A text from Margaret Lee. Ready when you are. I smile, remembering how she stood by me through the darkest days. One of the few who saw past my father's charismatic facade to recognize the rot beneath. The press conference room buzzes with anticipation as I stride to the podium. Camera flashes punctuate the air like lightning. The familiar faces of industry reporters lean forward, pens poised. I don't need my notes, I've lived and breathed this vision for months. Hayes Interiors stands at a crossroads. I begin, my voice steady and clear. Our heritage of craftsmanship remains our foundation, but today we step boldly into the future. I outline our plans for sustainable manufacturing, digital design integration, and expanded artisan partnerships. The room's energy shifts from skepticism to excitement as I detail each innovation. Later, I find myself back in the grand ballroom where everything changed. The space has been transformed, just like the company, heavy crystal chandeliers replaced with modern sculptural lighting, the stuffy oil paintings swapped for commissioned pieces by emerging artists. Yet standing here still makes my chest tighten with phantom pain. Quite a change, isn't it? Lisa Morgan appears beside me, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Our CFO's presence grounds me in the present. You did it, Charlotte. You really did it. I turn to survey the room filled with board members and industry leaders, all here to celebrate our new direction. No forced smiles or hidden agendas, now just genuine appreciation and shared purpose. We did it, I correct her. I couldn't have done this alone. Sunlight floods the modern atrium as employees gather for our company-wide luncheon. The space buzzes with energy, conversations flowing as freely as the champagne. James Chen raises his glass, commanding attention. To the woman who showed us that integrity and innovation aren't just buzzwords, they're the foundation of true success. Margaret Lee steps forward, her eyes bright with pride. When others saw obstacles, Charlotte saw opportunities. She didn't just save Hayes Interiors, she transformed it. The room erupts in applause, and I feel the warmth of genuine appreciation wash over me. These people aren't just employees, they're the heartbeat of everything we've built together. The afternoon finds me in quiet conversation with Kevin Roberts in the company lounge, its modern furnishings showcasing our latest designs. Remember when your father said our eco-friendly line would never sell? He chuckles, gesturing to the sales reports spread between us. Now it's our fastest growing segment. He never understood that tradition and innovation aren't mutually exclusive. I reply, my tone free of bitterness. The anger that once consumed me has mellowed into something else, and not quite forgiveness, but acceptance of the past as a catalyst for change. The workshop space fills with eager faces as I wrap up my presentation to a group of young designers. One participant, Sarah Chen from our biggest competitor, raises her hand. How do you stay true to your vision when everyone says it's impossible? I pause, considering the weight of her question. You learn to distinguish between genuine obstacles and other people's limitations, I answer. And you find allies who believe in that vision as much as you do. The setting sun paints the city in shades of amber as I stand in our newly renovated boardroom. The space epitomizes our transformation-clean lines and cutting-edge technology seamlessly integrated with handcrafted details. From here, I can see the whole city, but my gaze is drawn to the old Hayes building in the distance, its traditional facade now looking small and dated. My phone buzzes with a message from our head of innovation. The latest prototype tests exceeded expectations. A smile tugs at my lips as I think about tomorrow's investor meeting, where we'll unveil the next phase of our evolution. The future stretches out before me, full of possibility. 9 months ago, I stood in a different room, watching my father try to steal my legacy. He never understood that Hayes Interiors wasn't his to give away. It belonged to those who would shepherd it into the future. Now, looking out over the glittering cityscape, I know with absolute certainty that the best revenge isn't destruction, it's evolution.